Hello and welcome to Tabletop Oddity. My name is Jay, and I was thinking about doing a series where we pick like classic lists like Third Wheel, Flyboys, etc., and maybe talk about through some of the pros and cons. And then I realised that there might be a change at the moment where Flyboys, as in the Luke Han list, temporarily became really quite good, but then is going to get surpassed by a Sabine and Luke list. So I just want to talk about that as a concept today. Before we do that, of course, like if you've not at the end of the video, if you like the video, and subscribe if you've not already. Please consider doing that. So yeah, what am I talking about? Right. So I'll get it on the screen just to have something to show. So Luke Han is what we call, well, it is dubbed Flyboys. I'm not 100% sure why, because like Luke jumps around, sure, but Han's a little bit more. Well, I guess he's cool. I guess it's like Flyboys. Yeah, I guess. Okay, I understand. Right, fair enough. But it's a good. The list is basically Luke, Han, Z6s, and snipers. So when we're talking, I'm talking like top end list here. At the moment, these top end lists are just pretty much running Z6s and snipers, right? So I'm not bothering with showing the rest of this. You just sort of tailor it to your own need, right? And Luke's build is classic, Han's classic. It's the reason I think this sort of increased in value is that Luke has always been fantastic, and the classic combination was Luke Leia, and you can do that still, obviously. But Han, his value really went up with the introduction of Death Troopers and the rise of the Imperials. Like at most events these days, you see maybe like 2/3 Imperials, 1/3 Rebels. And Han's value has sort of increased. Now, I did play against a list that had Han and the Land Speeder, so you put him in that to get him up the board, whereas Luke can just like jump across very easily. So the reason that this is a decent list is, of course, you've got Luke. He's a superb piece, and Han now with this Pierce 2 and Gunslinger really wrecks Death Troopers. So like as I said, I played in that same game. The guy got his Han Solo in the center objective near my 2 Death Troopers, and I needed a solution to stop him. And that if you can't charge him, you've got to kill him. And it became really like he was really strong at doing that. That Gunslinger. If you get them even in cover, it's going to go down to light at best or worst, depending on whose point of view you have. And you're going to roll 2 red dice, so you're very likely to roll 2 hits. If they're in no cover, that's going to be 2 dead, Pierce 2. Losing 2 Death Troopers, who are, I'm not 100% sure how much a model they are, but let's say 22-ish points, something like that. And you could lose 2 of them. That really feels bad, as if you're the Imperial player losing that many to Pierce. So Luke, we know he's good, but that Pierce 2 and Gunslinger really like increased Han's value. And I was thinking about running this list, but I didn't have enough practice with it. I didn't really know it too much. But I know I went to a Rally Point qualifier, and Ellis from Legion Command, he won that one, got his invite to Worlds. You should check out that channel, by the way. I think he actually talks about his list and how it works and stuff like that. So skedaddle over there, sure, after you've watched this video. But yeah, you can see why Pierce is on the rise when you're going against really good armor saves, and Gunslinger is going to let you do multiple like attacks. Right, superb, fantastic, right? That whole list has sort of come back, I think. Like it had this moment of renaissance between the Death Trooper release, which I think was 2 months ago, and now when Sabine comes out. So I think there's like a potentially different combination now. When you consider that Han is 120 points and Sabine is 125, the difference there is so sort of like mild. Yes, you're probably going to add Darksaber and stuff like that, and there's pros and cons, but you know the difference is reasonably mild between the two for different amounts of cost. Yeah, I feel like this list is possibly a little bit better. A little bit of point of reference, the Luke Han list in Invader League in the top 32 list I think appears once, whereas there's a couple of like Luke Leia Sabines, but I think like Luke Sabine appears 3-4 times, something like that. Small sample pool, but you know we didn't necessarily know all of how Sabine plays with the shields and all that kind of stuff. So there's evidence for me to suggest, and the logic behind it says so, like it makes sense because as I said, Han 120 white defense dice, like Sabine 125 red defense dice, I mean, just look at the difference in surges as well. Well, there's no difference in surges, but the difference in defense dice. Yeah, she's got less wounds, but she's got impervious. Obviously, she's got jump 2. The dice are essentially, they're not the same. Like, I'm not sure about the mass, but it probably works out about the same. A red and a black and a white probably equals to about another red. So it's probably like the dice feel very similar. Gunslinger, that's in there, so you could potentially going to do the same thing. She is only Pierce 1, but you know, that's maybe not her sole focus. She has extra advantages, like that jump 2 and movement 3 being a key example there. There's a couple of things to note, specifically that jump 2 and the fact that she's lacking sharpshooter. So whereas Han is going to negate your cover a little bit if you're in light cover, or it's going to knock you down to light. Sabine doesn't have that advantage, but obviously the counterpoint to that is that she's going to jump out of, jump into a position where you're out of cover. Obviously, how well that works is a little bit more finesse, but maybe she's a little bit more forgiving with the much better save. So it's not. I can't see personally how Luke and Han would be better than Luke and Sabine, especially when you then combine her extra tools. So yeah, Han's command cards are great, and I'm not doing a full comparison here where it's like, you know, a direct comparison between Sabine and Han, but Sabine's cards are all right as well. There's been a bit of discussion whether or not how the combat shield is going to work when the extra dice gets added and stuff like that, whether it's you have to do before you roll or after you roll. There's a little bit of confusion there, but we'll wait for our rule upgrade. And once we get the updated rules, I'll come back and we'll have a proper look at Sabine. But the Darksaber here as well, she doesn't have charge, but 5 black dice is obviously better than 3 white in melee. One of the counters to Han is to charge him because he gets a little bit stuck. You can't really do that with Sabine because she's going to knock your socks off with the Darksaber. Tenacity, you just roll in there because like you could have 5 black, 1 red. Ouch, you know, that's really going to hurt. It essentially is better than Luke's in that case. Obviously, you know, that's got impact 2, PS2, but you'd have PS1. So, you know, there's stuff there. And she, as I said, she can sort of fulfill a similar role with that gunslinger, with the PS1. I feel like she's perhaps a more all-rounded character, really powerful, but a more like you can do different things with her, whereas Han is sort of like that little rogue who wants to get in, pop off some shots, and then probably die. Whereas Sabine, like, you know, you play Breakthrough, she can get that. You play what's it called? Not key positions, recover the supplies. If you take recon intel on her, you can capture that turn 1 and 2 or what have you. So there's a lot of stuff there, and I think you're going to see this as a new combination possibly being ran by a lot of people because 1, it's cool. Like, they're the most fun units you could probably use for the Rebels. And 2, I actually think it's going to be pretty decent. So I'm not saying Flyboys is dead. I think there'll be a case where Flyboys make sense again. That's generally what happens. The meta slightly changes, something makes more sense. I feel like Flyboys might come back. But I do feel like Sabine, Luke, which, let's face it, we don't really have a proper name for right now as far as I can tell. So we were talking about this in the Discord, and somebody has just suggested Jump to Electric Boogaloo. So I mean, maybe that is the winner. But if you can think of a couple of names, I'm gonna list some of the ones that I liked. Somebody, Jump Squad would be a classic. Then I was like, oh, what about Van Halen? You know, Jump the song a little bit too much. Double Sabers, Twin Peaks. Well, I came up with a couple. Somebody like Tatooine Graffiti, Quantum Leap, Long Jump. I liked Mandalore Airlines, but it doesn't really make any sense because obviously Luke's not from Mandalore. Jump 2 would be a classic, but yeah, so Jump to Electric Boogaloo. I mean, it's sort of funny. If you've got any ideas for the name, whack it in the comments. We'll decide. We won't decide. We're not the deciders in this thing, but we'll have a good chat about it and try and push one of them anyway. Yeah, I can't think of a really good one, which is a shame. But I honestly believe Luke and Sabine probably surpasses now Han and Luke, the Flyboys. And I feel like you're more likely to see that going forward, I think, than Luke and Han. Luke and Han, if everything would have stayed the same, I think Luke and Han would have had a big renaissance. I think they would have come back into the meta because of the Death Troopers, or the middle management build if you want to run that kind of thing. But I feel like it's so short-lived that you're not really going to see it, because if I'm building this, I'm going to put in Sabine every day over Han, which is a shame in one sense, because Han's obviously a cool character, but maybe things will turn back around and it'll be the case that the Flyboys come back. I still think they're going to be pretty decent, and it's still obviously as good against Death Troopers and that kind of stuff. If we ever see more units with good saves as well, you know, you could do it. I don't think there's a world in which you'd want to run Han and Sabine. I can't see that. I feel like you're a little bit weird there, but like it doesn't gel very well. But for sure, I think that this is a thing that I think you might see more regularly. Let me know your thoughts. Have you played Han and Luke? Are you looking forward to maybe trying Luke and Sabine, or jump to Electric Boogaloo? Yeah, so let me know your thoughts there. And that's pretty much it. I'll probably go more into detail about Sabine. I realise the channel is very heavy Sabine at the moment, but yeah, she's just so interesting and cool. We had the article, so we'll probably do like a little like how you're going to build her kind of thing once we know the rules. And obviously we can't forget Bosk. Bosk I think is definitely decent. He's almost as good, if not better than Boba Fett. So we'll talk about Bosk as well. So if you're interested in any of that, do press subscribe. Please press subscribe. I need this in my life. And like the video if you like the video. What you should definitely do either way though is have a most beautiful day, and goodbye.